Welcome to the Living Artist Podcast. I'm your host, Preston M. Smith. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Living Artist Podcast. I'm Preston M. Smith, at PMS Artwork everywhere on internet land and socials. I want to thank you for landing on this podcast. Whether you're a professional artist, just getting started in the art world, a collector of art, or just consider yourself a creative person, this podcast has something for you. I like to think of it as a fun way to rant and talk to other creative people about living the life of an artist, surviving and getting ahead in the art world, and enjoying your life. But most importantly, not waiting until you're dead to make it happen. All right, let's get started.
When you need to build up your team to handle the growing chaos at work, use Indeed Sponsored Jobs. It gives your job post the boost it needs to be seen and helps reach people with the right skills, certifications, and more. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all your boxes. Listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. That's Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need a hiring hero? This is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs.
Hey, it's Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. Now, I was looking for fun ways to tell you that Mint's offer of unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month is back. So I thought it would be fun if we made $15 bills. But it turns out that's very illegal. So there goes my big idea for the commercial. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12-month plan required. $15 per month equivalent. Taxes and fees extra. Initial plan term only. Greater than 50 gigabytes may slow when network is busy. See terms.
What's that? Oh, no, just drop me anywhere. Anywhere's fine. Wow, right back in my bed. What precision. That was better than an Uber. Thanks, Fab. Same time next week? What's that? I didn't understand. Oh, no matter. See you next time. See if I can get back to sleep now.
Yes, that was an intro about an alien abduction. I thought, you know what? I'm tired of telling you how I missed being able to do a podcast last week because I was fighting to stay alive. So I thought this week I would just pretend that I was abducted by aliens. And you know what? When I was thinking about it, I was like, pretty much the same amount of people probably believe in what I'm saying as believe in somebody with an alien abduction. So I think it works. So yes, the torture continues on my end here, but I thought we could use this as a little bit of fun because my wife and I have been watching, when we can, some alien and UFO and what do they call them, UAP documentaries. And there's some really fun and credible ones out there nowadays. If you haven't checked them out, just, I'm sure you can search and find something. They're ubiquitous. But there are some really good documentaries out there that are fun to watch. And even if you don't believe, it's something that is just interesting at very least and expands your mind a little bit. So I thought we would talk today about 3 things that we can learn as artists from alien abductions, or maybe more broadly, alien encounters. There's a lot of parallels with this kind of stuff, with this disease that I'm going through, because it does really feel like a bad episode or a bad 6 years of invasion of the body snatchers. It's something that is so difficult to explain and to understand and so, horrific and debilitating that it kind of borders on sci-fi and borders on something like alien abductions and things like that. So we're going to get into it a little bit and talk about some different types of shifts. Lesson 1 we can learn from alien encounters is belief. And you're going to say, well, belief, what are you talking about? I don't want to believe in aliens. But I'm talking about when you have an encounter of something of this magnitude, and I'm talking about, an alien encounter or an abduction or seeing something in the sky that you just can't explain, or, even, more specifically to me, dealing with something that's so hard to understand by the general populace, of something that has just completely torn your life apart. It's something that once you go through it, you don't have any choice but to believe it, right? Because it's happening to you. And, you have to fight against a lot of other people's disbelief and scrutiny. But really, I think we can use this model as something that we can apply to, being an artist, because having an unshakable belief, these people don't want to give up their beliefs, even if they're being called crazy or they're ostracized from the community. They don't want to give up their belief because it's something that was so impactful to them. Maybe something they didn't even want to have happen to them, but it's so impactful that the rest of their life, the course of their life, has changed. You're now on a course that you never would have thought you would have been on your entire life. You would have never even thought it was possible. Similar to what I'm going through. I would have never thought this was possible. I would have never thought it was possible to be tortured on so many levels and to still be alive. And to almost lose your life so many times. But you know what? Hey, it's happened to me, and it's something that has changed the course of my life. And I've had to roll with it and figure out how to continue to be an artist and be a human being and be a husband and be a friend and keep moving forward with this. And that's what happens with these people. So they choose their belief and their experience over arguably what would be a much easier route, which would be to just go, oh, you know what? I must have just made it up. I must have been delusional. I must have been hallucinating. This whole experience must have been just something that I conjured up out of my subconscious. That would be much easier. But people do not want to do that because this experience changed their lives. And it's something that was so tangible to them. So they have no other choice but to believe. And I would say, to use this in an artist context, I think we have to apply that kind of a belief, that kind of unshakable belief, to our own art and our own art careers and to our own trajectory as artists, because you are going to have so many naysayers and so many people who are going to try to shake that belief and challenge your belief through the course of your life. I don't know how many people have told me back to college even of like, oh, you're never going to make it as an artist. The odds are so stacked against you, or an actor even. You're never going to make it because, the chances of that are 1 in a million. They have all these statistics that they throw at you. And, it's very convincing. And it's something that, is very easy to be shaken by. And in some of your weakest moments, of course, you're going to have doubts. But I think we need to really develop and hone this unshakable belief, because without that, we really don't have much of a chance of becoming, a successful artist or anything like that, even a famous artist, a household name, whatever you want to be. You don't really have a chance of becoming that without having an unshakable belief. And a lot of these people who give you this and they're naysayers, we've talked about this in the past, some of them are actually failed actors or failed musicians or whatever. They didn't make it, so they don't believe you can make it. So they're basically projecting their own failure on you. And I would say, use this belief to rise above that and to prove these people wrong. I think it's a very rich life and a very rich path to choose. So that's number one that we can take from these alien encounters, is to have an unshakable belief. What is lesson number 2? Lesson number 2 is a perspective shift. And I know this is kind of out there and some of these connections are kind of different, but I think it's interesting to take things that might sound like disparate or something that doesn't sound at all like, oh, this applies to being an artist, and apply it to being an artist or apply it to being a human being. Because when you really get down to the nitty gritty, there are some really great lessons in things like this. And there's some really great lessons that I've learned through going through this disease that, once I get out of it, if I get out of it on the other side, there is a richer life and there is a more powerful life and one with more understanding and with more empathy. So I think these lessons are really important. So lesson number 2 is perspective shift. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, watching these things, and I'm sure a lot of you have had this experience too, whether you believe in aliens or, UFOs, UAPs, whatever you want to call it, whether you believe in that or whether you believe in, alien abductions and alien encounters, whether you believe in that, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't change this lesson that I'm telling you, because I think we've all had in our weakest moments, if you don't believe, and in your strongest moments, if you do believe, you've had a fear of something like this happening to you in the darkness of your room at night when you're laying in bed. I'm sure it's come into your mind at some point, man, this is terrifying. This would be a terrifying thing to have happen to you, to have something come into your room at night and visit you and, change your life and do some things to you that you can't even imagine. That's a fear. We all have this fear. It's human nature to have these types of fears. But it was interesting watching some of these documentaries because it gave me a perspective shift, because it was like a lot of the people and a lot of the experts, and there are a lot of experts and there are a lot of people in high-ranking officials in the government who have these encounters too, and they've released this and they've talked about it in Congress. But there are a lot of people who believe and who have had encounters that believe that it's altruistic, that they are here for our best interests, to keep us from destroying ourselves and to do things that are positive and to watch over us and really even the people who believe they were taken, if they were taken. I mean, I'm not here to discount that, but if they were taken, they're always returned. And some of them are frightened, but there's a lot of people who actually testified to it being a positive experience or something that they're happy it happened. It's like 85% of the people who have claimed to have had this experience say that they wouldn't change it. They would want it to happen. If they had it to do over, they would want it to happen to them. So it's a positive experience. So it was very interesting because it was a perspective shift for me. And I was like, it turned something that could be, kind of freaky for you into something that's like, well, maybe they have our best interest in mind. And, maybe if they took me, they would cure my disease or whatever. It's a perspective shift. Now, how can you apply that to your art? Well, you can apply it in many different ways. And I think a lot of stuff that comes down to art and to making it as artists and to becoming successful artists and to even pushing yourself out of your comfort zone and trying new techniques and trying to push yourself to be even better and to hone your craft. A lot of it is a perspective shift, because if we just stayed in the same perspective, we would never grow. We would never take that leap like we were talking about in the last episode to change your style or get out there into the world and pound the pavement and do some gallery hopping and try to get our resumes out there and try to get our portfolios out there and whatnot. Well, you can't do that really well. You can't do it in general, but you can't do it very well without having a perspective shift. And that perspective shift might be you go from thinking these galleries and these gatekeepers, they don't want me. They're all evidences to the contrary. They just want to keep me out. Every time I've gone in, they haven't wanted to talk to me, or they've turned me away, or they say no soliciting, or we don't look at, we don't look at portfolios, or we don't take walk-ins, or whatever they say. It gives you that feeling. And based on your experience of, applying to shows and getting your work at shows, it's maybe a small percentage of times you actually get accepted to do a show. So the whole thing is kind of geared towards making you feel like they don't want you in here. And they don't believe in your art. Well, a perspective shift would be, and a powerful perspective shift for me in my art career was to shift that into a perspective of they want my art. They need my art. They're looking for somebody like me. They cannot wait for somebody like me to come in. And if they don't accept me, it's just because I wasn't right for their roster, or I didn't, fit in their aesthetic as a gallery. Whatever they showcase as a gallery, maybe that's not me. Maybe they showcase landscapes and I'm an abstract artist. Well, okay. And of course they're going to not want to show my work because it doesn't fit in with their aesthetic. It doesn't fit in with their clientele, what their clientele's looking for. It doesn't mean that my art's not good. It just means let's go and start pinpointing galleries that do accept your type of work, and then, have a smarter, more targeted approach to trying to get into these galleries and trying to get your artwork in front of these people. But having that perspective shift of these people want me here. They need my art. They want my art. They're looking for somebody just like me. That's a very powerful perspective shift. And once you can really make that shift, and once you can really believe that in your bones, it will open up so many doors for you. I guarantee it. It happened to me, and I know it can happen to you as well. So that is lesson number 2. So lesson number 3 is embracing your aloneness, embracing being ostracized, or embracing your own individuality. Whichever one you want to think, whatever label works for you, you can use that. It's the same essence when you get down to it. And that is, so let's take an alien encounter, alien experience, or what I'm going through with this disease that is somehow unbelievable to people, even though hundreds of thousands or millions of people go through this to varying degrees in their own lives. Well, most people who encounter something like this or go through something like this, they feel very ostracized from the community. They feel very isolated. They encounter a lot of disbelief, and that disbelief or that gaslighting even, which is something you experience in the chronic illness community a lot from doctors and from people and friends and family. You experience a lot of gaslighting. And a lot of people who encounter something like this, like an alien encounter or an unexplained encounter, they get gaslighting too. And they get ostracized from their own community and they feel like nobody believes them. And so they also isolate. And this can be very dark because, you hear this all the time in longevity communities, and with the research now on how long people live, it's like, well, you need community. Well, yes, you do need community, but a community that doesn't believe in you and makes you feel bad and makes you feel gaslit is not the type of community that you want to be. It's better to be alone than to be in that type of community. I would say find the community that has had similar experiences to you and double down on that. And that's your community. It's like if you're going through cancer or you're a cancer survivor, find a cancer survivor community. If you are, on the spectrum, find a on the spectrum community. If you are in the MECFS community, find that community. If you're dealing with abuse of any sorts, if you find a community like that understands that, has gone through that, you are going to feel much more accepted and more bolstered in your beliefs and your struggles. But going even further than that, I want to take a little bit of a controversial standpoint on this because it's happened to me multiple times in my life, and obviously on steroids with what I'm going through. I've been embracing recently a lot of being alone and being isolated and being more rooted in the power that I have within me. Because a lot of times in my life, the times that I've actually done the most work or have excelled the most, it's because I doubled down on my own strength and my own power. And that's something that, David Bowie would even talk about. He was always talked about these being interested in the little microcosm and the world that we create in our own lives when we are in isolation, and the amount of creativity that we can kind of come up with when we're in isolation. And I believe in that. And I think there's a very extreme and vast power in that. I think there's too much recently of looking for acceptance in social media nowadays, where it's like you're projecting yourself outward so much that it can almost be debilitating. Whereas if you really hone in on yourself and your own power and do some work on that type of growth, I think you are unstoppable. And for me, I've taken the perspective recently of embracing the ostracism, is that a word? Embracing the isolation, embracing the people that don't, understand what I'm going through or haven't, been there for me or whatever. It doesn't matter. These are people that I don't want in my life. And it's made me feel like, I'm going to double down on myself, and the people who do care about me, and the people, yes, in a community that does understand you, but more so as an artist in myself, and like using that as fuel to keep going and to be like, what can I achieve without the hindrance of trying to please a whole group of other people? What can I achieve without the limitations of thinking that I have to fit into this structure or, this mold of what typical artists do? What can I achieve when I am not bound by anything? And that's exciting. That's a really exciting place to be coming from. And it has reinvigorated me a little bit to be like, if I can get on the other side of this, fuck the people who don't believe in me or fuck the people who haven't been there for me. And I'm going to forge my own path. And just as I have always done, when I've done the most work and succeeded the most in my art, it's always been when I've forged my own path or I've come up with my own ideas of like thinking outside the box and executing something on my own and seeing that through, or seeing it through in the studio, in the lab with my own art. Whenever I've quieted the noise of the crowd or quieted the noise of the community or social media, I've always done my best work. Because if you're always playing to the crowd or playing to the critics or playing to the whatever you want to call it, collectors or powers that be, you are going to be altering your work in a way that is not true to yourself. So double down a little bit on your own individuality or your own isolation or whatever you want to call it. that is also a very powerful thing. I'm not saying throw away community. Community has its place. But I think as an artist, we really have to be comfortable with ourselves, and we have to be comfortable with being isolated, because we do a lot of our work alone, and it comes from ourselves and in our own heads and in our own imaginations. So it is a very powerful thing. So those are 3 lessons that I want you to take from this whole alien encounter episode. And I think they're all very powerful, and I think they're very interesting. And if you want to expand your mind, watch some of these documentaries and come up with some of your own ideas. But at very least, it's entertaining and it's exciting. It's exciting to think of things that are out there that are maybe challenge the cultural norm, or things that we've thought to be reality or possible in the past. It really just expands our minds to believe that there's so much more out there that can be possible. So I'm going to leave it at that. I think this one's going a little bit long, but I hope you got something out of this. Maybe it's long to make up for last week. I'm going to keep going with my treatments here, and hopefully turn a corner one of these days. But thanks for bearing with me while I am going through this, and I hope you're all well out there. Take care of yourselves, take care of everybody else in your lives, and we'll see you next time on the next episode. Bye-bye.
Oh, wow. Right on time. It said my watch to you. I'm ready. What's that? Well, that's insulting. Oh, my bad. Yes, I'm hydrated. I'm ready. Beam me up, Scotty. Oh, you don't like that? You've heard that one before? To infinity and beyond. No good either? Let's just get this over with. That's roll my earth, brethren. So long, suckers!
This has been the Living Artist Podcast. Thank you so much for listening. I just want you to know that I appreciate you being here, and I'm grateful to be in your ears. Your art and creative life on this planet is meaningful, so thank you for sharing it with me. If you like this podcast, whatever platform you're listening to it on, please subscribe and share it with your friends. You can also leave me a positive review to show your support. This helps me to reach more people with the algorithmic magic and keep the show going strong. If you want to see more of what I do and check out the art that I create, you can visit my website at www.pmsartwork.com or follow me on social media everywhere at PMS Artwork. That's it for now. See you back here next time.